One major advantage of building a new cinematic universe from the ground up, for the most part anyway, is the wide range of possibilities it offers for adapting characters and deciding which teams James Gunn and his team will incorporate into the new DCU. Since it's way too early to tell what direction they're going in exactly with the Justice League, or in what ways the main group of heroes in the DCU will present themselves as a unit, it leaves room for speculation and raises some potential concerns people might have about how things may ultimately turn out. Going into this universe, we know that heroes have already existed for some time, while Superman is more or less in his earlier years as a superhero, but it's not going to be like a year one or an origin story kind of thing, but rather a few years into his career, if I had to guess, considering the fact that Clark Kent will be around David Cornsweet's age, so 30 to 31 years old. We know about some of the other heroes that will be present throughout the film, like Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, Metamorpho, and Guy Gardner as Green Lantern. Set photos have shown that specifically Hawkgirl, Guy Gardner, and Mr. Terrific all have a very similar aesthetic going on with their costumes, as if they were representing some sort of organization or team. They're all rocking jackets with a certain logo placed on their chests, which resembles the logo for a company called Lord Tech, seen in other set photos for the Superman movie, a company owned by Maxwell Lord, who will be played by Sean Gunn in the DCU. I've seen a lot of speculation around the possibility of Gunn incorporating elements of Justice League International into the new DCU, whether it would be a branch of the main Justice League group or the first mainline team up we see in this universe. Maxwell Lord was a key figure in the Justice League International run, where he helped the newly formed Justice League become a United Nations sanctioned international peacekeeping force, helping them gain international status to establish multiple embassies in different countries. Maxwell Lord and his company helped fund the group and push them more into the public eye. It's possible that the heroes seen in Superman work for Maxwell Lord in some capacity, and a big focus of the film will be how these modern heroes have become very corporate, while Superman represents a new age of heroes that stand on their own, as his costume is very bright and colorful compared to the aesthetic of the other heroes. As you see people gravitate more to him while the other characters are present. Some of the notable members of Justice League International are already set to be established in the DCU. Obviously Batman with the Brave and the Bold movie, which will introduce Damian Wayne to the Bat family. I don't know if Ted Kord Blue Beetle will be seen throughout this universe, as the Blue Beetle animated series will focus on Jaime Reyes with the Scarab, but a version of Blue Beetle would still be somewhat prominent. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner Green Lantern is already seen interacting with the other heroes in Superman, suggesting a possible ongoing role in the DCU. Most notably, Booster Gold will be getting his own live action series, as it was one of the first 10 projects announced in James Gunn's initial announcement.
Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series.
There haven't been any concrete confirmed castings for Booster Gold from James Gunn or any big Hollywood trade, but there is a strong possibility that Kumail Nanjiani might be playing Booster in the DCU. Again, this isn't something that's been 100% confirmed and is still technically on the rumorville. I never really like covering rumors or supposed leaks, but surprisingly this does have some credibility to it. This first came about in a report from Nexus Point News. They've gotten some things right relating to scoops or reports about upcoming DCU projects before they're officially announced by Gunn or some big Hollywood trade. It really didn't do anything for me at first, because I'm like, well, this isn't an official confirmation or anything, and James Gunn has gone on record stating castings for projects won't start until the scripts for said projects are completed. On the flip side though, he did state during a special press presentation for Chapter 1 of the DCU that him and Peter Safran had an actor in mind and were already in talks with said actor about starring in the show. So even if they haven't officially cast Booster Gold, Gunn does or did at least have someone in mind. Kumail Nanjiani was also on Twitter showing his support for the new Superman movie, which I guess doesn't really mean much in confirming his presence in the DCU, but it is a little random to have someone like him share their enthusiasm for the first DCU film. It hasn't been super convincing with what I've shown so far, but things only ramp up from here. After that report of him as Booster was floating around, he was seen randomly hanging out with some of the cast and crew of the Superman movie. I guess many of the cast members went on a little vacation to the Paris Olympics, and you just see him chilling like he thinks he's part of the team. You got Lois Lane right there, Lex Luthor, Superman, Nathan Fillion with Guy Gardner. Like, there are so many pictures of the Superman cast and buddies just chilling and vibing in all of the pictures. But celebrities hang out with each other all the time, right? It's probably a coincidence that Kumail Nanjiani just so happens to be hanging out with the cast of Superman. Well, as I stated earlier, Blue Beetle will be getting his own animated series in the DCU, and the actor for Blue Beetle, Shola Maradueña, was asked about Booster Gold at a convention, where the Cosmic Circus asked a bunch of celebrities questions relating to their upcoming projects. Shola was asked about the Booster Gold rumors that were circulating, and he confirmed that Kumail Nanjiani had in fact been cast as Booster Gold, sharing his excitement on the possibility of Blue Beetle and Booster Gold teaming up. Damn, this universe hasn't even started yet, and we already got actors on some Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland timing.
Wait till you see this next one. Everybody dies.
Dude.
Not everybody. No. Is that? Can we rewind that part?
Yeah, can we? You'll cut that.
That's
part.
not.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting couple of movies.
And you said 2 movies, it means Homecoming 2 and 3, or Avengers
Yeah,
3?
there'll be Spider-Man 2 and 3. It won't be Homecoming 2 and 3. Yeah.
Almost a scoop, because we knew about the second one, but not the third one.
Yeah, well, now you know. Now you know. Sorry, Marvel. Whoops. That's out.
Natalia Safran, the wife of Peter Safran, who is the co-CEO of DC Studios, shared a couple photos of some of the Superman cast together with Kumail Nanjiani in some of the photos, and she was liking comments relating to Kumail Nanjiani playing Booster Gold, further adding to the possible confirmation that he'll be playing the character. If you try and check now, the likes have been removed, and it may or may not mean anything, but it is worth pointing out considering it's coming from the wife of the co-CEO of DC. If there's any amount of truth to Kumail Nanjiani playing Booster Gold in the DCU, my only concern with the casting choice is that, well, ain't he a little bit too old to play Booster? I don't think he's super old or anything, nor do I think he looks old. We're not talking about not wanting a grandpa to play Booster Gold or something, but I'd always imagine they'd go for an actor at least a decade younger than Kumail Nanjiani, considering the fact that he's currently 46 years old. So by the time the Booster Gold show even comes out, he'd be nearly 50. Booster's sole motivation for time traveling from the future to the present day was so that he could pretend to be some righteous hero and become rich and famous. It paints a clear picture on his personality and young, brash nature, only to learn with time what it means to be an actual hero. James Gunn in his initial announcement video described Booster as someone who just wants people to like him, being a loser from the future who travels back in time. Anytime you see the character in adaptations, he has this almost obnoxious personality at first and is very egocentric. To me, I'd imagine that role going to someone in their late 20s to mid 30s or something. I'm not saying Kumail Nanjiani is a bad actor or can't pull it off. Ideally, he has the acting and comedic chops for a role like this. I just thought they would choose someone younger, but again, none of this has been official, so it may not even be a possibility. A thing I'm noticing with not all, but a few of these casting choices is how much older some of these heroes turn out to be. I like the idea of Nathan Fillion playing Guy Gardner, but I was kind of surprised at first considering his age range. Bro is 53, Booster Gold potentially early 50s by the time the show comes out. Recently, there have been reports circulating about potential candidates for playing Hal Jordan in the Lanterns TV show, which centers on Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. The official synopsis reads as a series that follows new recruit Jon Stewart and Lantern legend Hal Jordan, two intergalactic cops drawn into a dark Earth-based mystery as they investigate a murder in the American heartland. Now, I'd imagine Hal Jordan in this show would be at least a little bit older than Jon Stewart based on how he's stated to be a Lantern legend and Jon is said to be a new recruit, focusing on Hal mentoring Jon and showing him the ropes kind of thing. But some of these supposed picks for Hal Jordan are kind of questionable to me, because what do you mean you're considering offering Josh Brolin the role of Hal Jordan?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Do you know how old Josh Brolin is?
And me, I'm 56 years old. Damn!
I'm sorry.
When I was considering an age gap between Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, I was expecting around like a decade at most, not up to freaking 20 plus years. I think he'd fit much better as the voice of Kilowog. Now that is some good casting. Even though these reports might not hold much validity and Josh Brolin taking up the role probably won't even happen, it does paint a clear picture with how there have been other reports stating how old they're willing to cast Hal Jordan, primarily looking for big name actors between their mid 40s to mid 50s. Yo, James, Buki, I don't know what you're cooking behind the scenes, but I'm not trying to have a middle-aged Justice League be the center focus. I think many issues surrounding older actors cast as heroes have to deal with longevity, since this is going to be an interconnected universe with a minimum 8 to 10 year plan. You'd want some of your heavy hitters to stick around for the long run. This might not even be true, but if you are going for a big name actor that is around the same age as Brolin, or maybe even a few years younger, I can't imagine the creative team at DC having long-term plans for Hal Jordan throughout the course of 8 to 10 years. Like, you're rebooting the DC universe, yet you're starting with a nearly 60-year-old actor as one of the primary Green Lanterns by the time you've introduced him. Nothing against Brolin, he's a phenomenal actor, and yeah, sure, he can definitely play Hal Jordan if it was 15 years ago, but if we're talking now in the 2020s, nah fam. I've seen some defenses towards casting older actors for some of these roles, saying how since heroes have existed for a while in this universe, not everyone will be the same age and some heroes will be older than others. That is true, but that logic only applies for heroes who are consistently older than the age range of our main heroes in main continuity. If they were looking for actors to play Jay Garrick Flash or Alan Scott Green Lantern for a movie set in the present day, you'd need to cast much older actors for those roles, as those heroes were some of the key players in the Justice Society of America back in World War II, so they'd be hella old in modern times. But it's somewhat valid to get concerned about the ages of someone like Hal Jordan or Booster Gold, because 9 times out of 10 they're depicted as being the same age as characters like Barry Allen or Superman, for example. Taking an actor of Josh Brolin's age into consideration to be Hal Jordan gives off the impression the character is not in it for the long term. If you're establishing a hero that has been active for a while in your universe, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be a lot older. Case in point, Batman and the Brave and the Bold will be experienced thanks to the Bat family being established and Damian Wayne's involvement as Robin. I highly doubt, however, they'd hire an actor pushing 50 for Batman, given they'd want someone who can stay with the role in the long run. Plus, Superman is only in his early 30s in this universe, and we don't want a huge age disparity between Batman and Superman. A possibility could be that the main heroes of a potential Justice League lineup will be cast within an ideal age range, while some heroes here and there outside the Justice League roster could be depicted as older and not be the center focus. To help further establish this already lived in universe, I could see them going more for a DCAU lineup with John Stewart as the Green Lantern for the Justice League and potentially the DCU's Focus Green Lantern down the road. On top of that, we already know about Isabella Merced's Hawkgirl in the new Superman. I'd imagine every member of the Trinity would be around David Corenswet's age. It's very unlikely they'd hire like a 46-year-old for Wonder Woman. Personally, I would have gone with an approach where you have Hal Jordan be the primary focus for any Green Lantern stories, with him being the center focus in a hypothetical Green Lantern trilogy out in space, whereas John Stewart can be the Green Lantern of the Justice League and goes off in adventures with the other heroes. Then in any major crossover events with an ensemble cast of heroes, you can see Hal and John working together. Whenever you're adapting the Justice League in any medium, you gotta make sure that the lineup is saucy. You take a quick flick of all the members together, you gotta make sure people can sit there and bask in all their glory like, damn, that's a superhero team right there. Some of the best lineups obviously include the DCAU, which is probably the most popular roster amongst the fandom, which then expanded into a large rotating cast of characters across the DC universe, but there were still the primary 7 members of the group. Young Justice also had a very large cast, with the heroes actively recruiting new members, and you also saw both Hal Jordan and John Stewart in the Justice League.
Still, we could always use more raw power, and Earth has a 3rd Green Lantern, Guy Gardner.
No.
But we could really...
No.
You'll see a pattern in some of these animated projects where you have a main cast of about 6 to 7 members, while also having other members be a part of the league as they expand their roster. The DCAMU, for example, had their main 7 heroes, then it slowly expanded off screen for the most part. I'd imagine the DCU taking the route of having a core cast of 7 to 9 heroes in a primary Justice League group, with the roster expanding as time goes on. There are so many different options to choose from when creating a JLA lineup. Obviously, you gotta have your Trinity. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are integral to any core roster. You gotta have a Flash, whether it would be Barry Allen or Wally West. Gotta have a Green Lantern. It's likely they'll go with John Stewart if any of the Hal Jordan castings rumors are true. The other options is where you'll see more flexibility, because they could go for a founding members lineup almost with Aquaman and Martian Manhunter, or go the DCAU lineup with Martian Manhunter and Hawkgirl. I think Martian Manhunter should be on the team regardless. Not having him in the New 52 founding roster was so bizarre. I'd imagine imagine they wouldn't want to waste my wife being cast as Hawkgirl, so it wouldn't surprise me if they add a Hawkgirl in the first iteration of the Justice League lineup. If it's down to 7 members, it will probably just be the animated series lineup, but if it's more than that from the jump, my predictions would be Green Arrow with Black Canary and Aquaman probably added in there. Too many options to choose from. My picks were centered on who I think is most likely based on what little we know, but I would like to hear your ideal take on the Justice League and the DCU. A lot of things have not been officially confirmed by James Gunn or someone at DC Studios, so you shouldn't take these statements as absolute fact, but we do know some things to be true either from statements or reports that line up with Gunn's plans for this universe. Even if I have grievances with potential casting choices, it's not a matter of questioning their acting ability, but rather just wanting a strong sense of longevity. Because if they cast someone to be Hal Jordan, who'll be nearly 60 by the time Lanterns comes out, Hal Jordan about to be built like this 5 years into the DCU. On the bright side, it would be fun to see plants seeded throughout the course of this universe on potential Justice League members. Will they have a mix between founding members and the DCEU lineup, or do something different with the heroes seen in Superman with Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific? A lot of these rumors could be a load of BS, but it does make for some interesting conversation.